The law is complex, but it doesn't have to be a mystery. We are talking legal literacy, not advice. So don't worry, you're not getting an invoice. I'm Simon Jenga, and welcome to Simon Says. Today we are talking about will kits and other ways of drafting documents that don't involve lawyers. So, jumping straight in, we've got will kits that you buy online, things that are $59.99 through an online portal, all the way to AI generated wills where you type into platforms such as ChatGPT, I want a will that's valid in New Zealand and I want to leave everything to my wife and then to the dog. Enter, and it will generate a will for you. So, what are the risks? What are the benefits? One thing that I will say straight off the bat is that I've never had anyone say to me, I'm drafting my will through ChatGPT or through a will kit because I think it'll be better than a qualified expert doing a bespoke will specifically for me. That's generally not what people say. In my experience, what I hear is it's going to be exactly the same as what I get from a lawyer, which is maybe the same thing, but I don't think so. I think it's slightly different. And I'll come to why I think it's different in a second. But it's going to be exactly the same as what I get from a lawyer, and it's going to be a fraction of the cost. So those are generally the two things. And all I'm hearing when I hear those things is that I have not communicated the value proposition of involving someone like myself in the drafting process of completing a will for you. And that is, in my estimation, the biggest issue with people choosing to do wills themselves at home versus instructing a lawyer or another qualified professional to assist with the drafting process. And I would raise kind of an analogy, and I know that some people will go, those are not the same thing, Simon, but I'm going to do it anyway, and you can take from it what you want. So the analogy is with medical stuff. Now, there has been Dr. Google for some time now, and we all go on our smartphone or on our tablet or on our laptop or in the public library, wherever it is, and we go and we Google our symptoms to get a best initial guess as to what's going on with us, right? And we get the information and we go, oh yeah, good. And then we actually are then making a risk analysis as to whether, okay, based on that information, do I think that the ailment or the issue that I have is sufficiently severe that I should still go to the doctor? Or am I confident that it's really nothing and so then I'll just carry on living my life, right? And that risk assessment is then what drives you to make the next decision, which is, am I still going to go to the doctor? So if you find a lump in your chest or on your neck and you do your Dr. Google, are you satisfied that that's answered the question, or do you still want to go into the GP to get them to check it out? Do you still want to make a specialist with a skin expert to check it out? And what I think would be reasonable is that most people, if they think they've got a serious problem, they won't then type into ChatGPT or Reddit or some other forum further details of their ailment in order to get a solution. The majority of people would then start engaging the professionals to take their advice, to glean what the true problem is, and rely on them, rely on their experience, rely on their education, trust that they are seeing this stuff day in, day out, so hopefully they're going to know quickly and accurately what's going on, and also that if there is a major problem, that they are then going to be able to solve it, so that not only is it identifying what needs to be done, it's then actually doing it. So if that lump turns out to be cancerous, that they're then going to be able to take the next steps of treating it rather than just identifying it. Now, why have I labored this for so long? Well, what I'm trying to show is that the value proposition of a doctor is that they have clearly established in the community that they are the expert. If you have a major problem, then you need to go see them so that then you can get better. The same applies to other professions. A plumber generally If there's an issue with plumbing, people won't do the plumbing themselves. They'll get a qualified plumber to come out and do the plumbing for them. You could YouTube, you could Google, you could put into ChatGPT or other AI generative the symptoms or what's going on and come up with a plan for how you're going to resolve it. But often you'll just get the professional. Electrician, same thing. The list goes on of kind of people that you involve in your life that serve a specific purpose, meet a specific need that you maybe could do yourself, but it's better just to rely on the professional. So if we come back to wills, then really what we're talking about is, do you believe that involving a professional and paying for a professional is actually going to produce something different or better or more secure than what you could produce yourself? And the critical element that I have to say is that you don't know what you don't know. I spend my life dealing with wills. Lawyers all around the country spend their lives dealing with wills. People in legal offices spend their lives dealing with wills. It's what we are doing day in, day out. And therefore, when you are coming to a legal advisor to execute a will, you're not really paying for me to write something on a piece of paper. What you are paying for is that I'm going to ask the right questions of you to elicit the information that I need to draft the document that is going to do what you actually want it to do. Now, another example in my personal life is I needed a thermal for under my business shirts for in winter. And I thought I knew the type of thermal that I needed. And when I went into the first store, I asked the person, this is the one that I've seen online, do you have it? They just showed me the one that I had said. They said, this is it here, there you go, this is the price, do you want to buy it? And I ummed and ahed, and I ended up seeing the merino store across the road at Icebreaker. So I went in there, said exactly the same thing, and the first thing he said to me was, so what do you need this for? And when I answered him, he said, hey, actually, I don't think that that's what you need. I really think that this is the one you need. Why don't you try it on, see how it feels, and then we can go from there. And lo and behold, the one that he picked out was exactly what I actually needed, and I bought it on the spot. So that expert advice took me from what I thought that I needed to achieve the outcome that I wanted to achieve, but actually transported me over to the vehicle to get me there that was actually what I needed. And that's a bit like my job as a legal advisor when it comes to drafting a will, is it's not about necessarily changing where you want to get to. It's just making sure that the vehicle, the document that we're drafting is actually going to get you there. And that can be the biggest risk that you are taking on. If you draft your will yourself, is that you just don't know what you don't know. So maybe that document is doing something untoward. Maybe there's a factor that you haven't taken into account. Maybe there's an impact that getting married has that you didn't know about, or getting divorced, or being in a relationship for 2 years and having a child, or being in a relationship for 5 years with no child, having been overseas, having come back, having kids from separate relationships, having assets based overseas, having cryptocurrency. All of these things are bouncing around, are potentially disruptors to what you think is happening in your will. And when you get a professional involved, basically what you're saying is, get it right, because if it's not right, then I've got someone to blame. And that safety net, first of all, it puts pressure on professionals to actually get it right, which is a positive thing. But it also gives you peace of mind that this last document that you are ever going to need in your life, that it's actually, for all intents and purposes, going to achieve the goals that you have for in that moment. Because when it actually is happening, and when the will is being tested, you are no longer around, which means that it can't be resolved by you. So if there is a defect, it's not going to be something that you can then control the changing of. It's going to be the people that you leave behind. They're the ones that are going to have to deal with it, and potentially the ones that are going to have to decide ultimately what happens with your estate if there's a significant defect that renders the whole thing a problem. So it's not about would you like fries with that legal services. It's actually about the value proposition of, do you want the document to be bespoke? Do you want it to take into account your personal circumstances? And do you believe that involving a legal advisor is going to assist with that? Today, Simon says, if you don't have a will or you're not sure what's in your will, resist the urge to do it yourself. Talk to your trusted legal advisor to get that advice, to make sure that it is doing what you think it is doing and what you need it to do. So hopefully you've learned something and can take it away that's going to benefit however you plan to structure your affairs, because that is the purpose of these videos and the purpose of Simon Says, is to hopefully give you a bit of insight to help with making sure that you structure your legal affairs in the best way that you can. If you want to help us reach as many people as we can with this content, please like, subscribe to our channel, check out our other videos, and remember, at LOA Law, we are good lawyers for good people.